What would happen if I told you that there is a country in the heart of Europe that refuses to follow the rules set by the European Union? An unbreakable leader who has decided to take the destiny of his nation into his own hands, defying imposed policies and prioritizing the well-being of his people above all else. Would you be surprised? But stay until the end of the video, because what you are about to discover is something you've never seen before in any other country in the world. Today, we will explore how Hungary, under the leadership of Viktor Orbán, is swimming against the current, facing international pressures and taking bold measures to protect its sovereignty and security. Get ready for a fascinating journey through the most controversial and brave decisions of this leader who is changing the course of his country. Since coming to power, Viktor Orbán has been a controversial figure on the European stage. While many leaders align with the directives of the European Union, Orbán has chosen a different path, one that prioritizes Hungary's interests over the community policies that, according to him, do not always benefit his nation. One of the areas where this challenge is most evident is in the management of the migration crisis. In 2015, Europe faced an unprecedented wave of migrants and refugees. While many countries opted to open their borders, Orbán made a drastic decision to build a fence on Hungary's southern border. This measure was met with criticism and accusations of xenophobia from the international community. However, Orbán defended his decision, arguing that his primary duty is to protect Hungarian citizens and maintain national security. Later, we will reveal how much the wall cost. Before the construction of the wall, Hungary recorded more than 400,000 illegal entries into its territory in 2015. Local communities were overwhelmed, resources were insufficient, and social tension was increasing. After the implementation of the border measures, including the fence and increased surveillance, illegal entries decreased dramatically. In 2016, the numbers dropped to less than 18,000, and in the following years, they continued to decrease. But stay until the end of the video, because we're going to unveil how these actions not only affected Hungary, but also had an impact across Europe. These statistics reveal a significant change in the migration situation in the country. Orbán argues that these measures have not only protected Hungary's security, but have also preserved its cultural identity and prevented social and economic problems associated with mass immigration. In addition to building the wall, Orbán's government implemented stricter asylum laws and established transit zones where applicants could be processed without entering the country. These policies have been criticized by human rights organizations and the European Union, which consider them violations of fundamental rights. However, Orbán remains firm in his position. He asserts that the European Union does not have the right to dictate Hungary's migration policies and that each nation should control its own borders. The tension between Hungary and the European Union is not limited to migration policy. Orbán has also challenged the EU on issues such as press freedom, judicial independence, and constitutional reforms. The European Commission has initiated legal proceedings against Hungary, alleging that some of these reforms violate the fundamental values of the Union. But from Orbán's perspective, these actions are attempts to interfere in Hungary's internal affairs and impose an agenda that does not reflect the interests of his people. He maintains that the EU has strayed from its founding principles and now seeks to centralize power, eroding the sovereignty of member states. It is important to note that Orbán has found allies in other countries that share his skepticism towards the EU and its approach to immigration. Hungary's cooperation with nations like Poland and other members of the Visegrad Group has created a bloc that challenges the European status quo. This alliance seeks to promote a Europe of sovereign nations rather than deeper integration. Meanwhile, the Hungarian economy has shown signs of stability and growth. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Hungary experienced consistent economic growth, low unemployment, and controlled inflation. Orbán attributes these successes to his independent approach and economic policies that prioritize national interests. In the economic realm, Orbán has implemented policies aimed at strengthening the national economy, promoting local industry, encouraging foreign direct investment in key sectors, and maintaining control over the country's strategic resources. This has allowed Hungary to maintain stable growth, even during times of economic crisis in Europe. In addition, he has emphasized family and traditional values. He has introduced policies to encourage childbirth, such as tax exemptions for large families and financial support for young couples. These measures aim to counter the aging population and preserve Hungary's cultural identity. However, critics argue that this growth is unsustainable and that Orbán's actions are isolating Hungary on the international stage. The European Union has threatened sanctions and cuts in funding to the country. Budget negotiations and recovery funds have been tense, with the EU conditioning the receipt of funds on respect for the rule of law. Orbán, however, does not seem willing to back down. He considers these threats a form of blackmail and a violation of the principles of equality among member states. On the international stage, Orbán has sought to diversify Hungary's alliances. He has strengthened relations with Russia and China, seeking investments and trade agreements that provide greater economic independence from the EU. This has raised concerns in Brussels and Washington, who are worried about the growing influence of these powers in Central Europe. Orbán defends these relationships as a way to guarantee national interests and avoid dependence solely on the West. He argues that in a multipolar world, Hungary must maintain a flexible and pragmatic foreign policy. But this stance has raised questions about Hungary's commitment to the values and goals of the European Union. Can a member country maintain such a divergent policy and still remain an integral part of the bloc? This is one of the big questions facing the European Union today. Viktor Orbán has become a symbol of resistance for some and a challenge for others. His determination to follow an independent path has shaken the foundations of the European Union and opened the debate about the balance between national sovereignty and supranational integration. The Hungarian people feel deep respect and admiration for their president, Viktor Orbán. Throughout his years in power, Orbán has managed to win the affection of his compatriots by making decisions that many believe have protected the essence and future of Hungary. His leadership has been key to confronting challenges that threaten to alter the national identity and well-being of the country. One of the most notable aspects of his government has been the management of the migration situation. At a time when Europe was facing an unprecedented migration wave, Orbán took firm measures to secure Hungary's borders. Orbán's connection with the people is palpable. His approachable discourse and constant presence in public life have reinforced the sense of trust and closeness. For many, he represents not just a political leader, but a defender of Hungarian interests and traditions. In summary, the affection and praise that the Hungarian people feel for Viktor Orbán are based on his commitment to protecting and advancing Hungary. His decisions, although sometimes controversial on the international stage, have been received with gratitude by those who believe he has successfully safeguarded the country's identity and future. While the world watches, Hungary finds itself at a crossroads. The decisions it makes in the coming years could not only define its own destiny, but also influence the future of Europe. If there is one thing we've learned, it's that history is constantly in motion, and leaders like Viktor Orbán play a crucial role in shaping it. His actions and decisions continue to generate debate and analysis, and it is essential to understand the motivations and consequences behind them. What do you think about Viktor Orbán's decisions and Hungary's future in Europe? Do you believe his approach is the right way to protect national interests? Or do you think it could isolate the country and harm its long-term development? Leave us your comments and share your thoughts, because your opinion is also part of this global conversation. If you found this analysis interesting and want to stay informed about more content like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue exploring important topics and bringing you information that you won't find anywhere else. Until next time.